Steve, the Cookout Coach, and you're listening to the BBQ Central Show.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike your match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
And welcome to the really big BBQ Central show. This is the show that talks about all things that are important to the world of barbecue and grilling. The show originating, of course, from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I'm your program host, Greg Rippey. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evening's live fire fun and that was the show. If you want to jump in tonight and contact me, here's how you do it.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at BBQCentralShow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, the BBQCentralShow.com. And here's what's happening in case you didn't get the newsletter coming up in about 12 to 13 minutes from now. Typically, you would find him in the second interview segment of this very month. However, because so many things have been going on over the last month or two or since the year turned, things have started to pack up in these segments. And because the way scheduling worked out, we're able to load them in for the first interview segment, carry them all the way through. We can bleed into that second if we need to make sure that we kind of play catch up at this point. Not even kind of. So we can play catch up at this point and then start anew as July rolls around. We will be meeting with who? The bristly barbecue journalist, Derek Riches. DerekRiches.com is his website, and you can read all about what he's writing about right there. You can subscribe to newsletters. You can go to his social feeds. You can do all of that stuff, and you can find all the things that Derek is into. Plus, he's here every month, the fourth Tuesday, and you've landed in the right time if this is your first time in the show, because Derek's a great interview. And what we love most, he is the definition of what this show is supposed to be about, courageous. Daniel Vaughn, guest last week, years ago, said, I thought we were courageous on this show. And I said, you know what? Damn right. We are courageous on this show, and we will continue to be courageous going forward after he threw down that gauntlet. Derek's certainly one of the most courageous names in the biz, letting it all fly. So looking forward to catching up with Derek here in just a few. He will wrap that first hour, or most of it, and then we'll figure out how to fill it from there if we don't get through it. But I have a good feeling there's a lot of stuff to get through with Derek, and the first hour will be all of his. Then we'll move to the second hour. Oh, my goodness. The second hour is going to be amazing. It's the fourth Tuesday of a month in the second hour, so you know that brings a visit from the embedded correspondents. But notwithstanding that, and yes, we have a whole new line of 100% surety questions because last month we were busy picking who we think should be in the Barbecue Hall of Fame. By the way, a large percentage of us were correct, and two of the four of us were 100% correct, and we'll talk about all of that with them as we talk to them at 10:14 this evening. But notwithstanding that, after the abridged embedded correspondence segment, it's coming to an end this evening. The finals, the crescendo, the finale. Barbecue Central Show's American Idol. Me, Rusty. We have a produced single that we will be playing for you. Then as we do in the finals, what? The two finalists, me and Rusty, will sing live for you this evening. That's right. It's not recorded. It's not produced. I mean, it's production because we have music beds. But the singing will be live. You have to stick around for it at 10:35 or 10:30. There will be at least 2/3 of the female judges in studio. Jose Urquiza, lead singer of 3 Years Hollow, the officially unofficial band of the Barbecue Central show. Doug will be in. John will be in as well. Oh, my goodness. It's going to be something, so you're going to have to stay tuned for that in the second hour. And we'll see in a week's time who season 3 will be champion-wise. Who sang it the best all season to win and remain champion for the duration of 2022 into 2023 before season 4 starts up. And I'm sure everybody's already duly excited about that. So that's what's in store for you this evening. Hopefully I've amped it up enough for you. Don't forget, you can follow me socially, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat at BBQ Central Show. For live video feeds of the show, you can go to Facebook and Twitch/BBQ Central Show. Also over on YouTube/RD Rempe. And finally, we are live on Clubhouse audibly. So if you don't want to look at us or you have no way to look at us, but you do have the Clubhouse app, you can listen right there live as it's happening during the show, 9 to 11 Eastern. So let's start here tonight. And making his second trip into the Barbecue Central Show watch party this evening, and I can't verify this, and I'm going to venture out and say it, the youngest Barbecue Central Show fan to date, Joey Clota, is back watching tonight. Joey, get ready for a second hour that will blow your mind, nephew. You're going to watch your uncle sing. He is probably going to impress you more than he ever has before with his singing wiles. So stay tuned for that and then go immediately to bed because it'll be late. Now, outside of the singing and Joey, I know we have some SCA folks that listen to the show, and hopefully some of you are in this tri-state area. Let's call it Ohio and Kentucky and Pennsylvania. There's a West Virginia there, so now it's 4 states. Indiana, now it's 5 states. Boy, that's a lot of states. There's going to be a double SCA contest in Canton, Ohio during the NFL Hall of Fame weekend. This contest will take place July 30th. There's a $160 cover for one event or $320 for both ends of it. So if you're in Ohio or the surrounding Ohio areas, or you just like to travel like a maniac for SCA contests, and you have always wanted to try your hand at state competitions, if you're new to this and you're around here, this is it. By the way, first place pays $1,000. Friend of show, Mr. Brisket, is supplying the steaks right there in Cleveland Heights. So local purveyor jaunting down to Canton and having his hand at SCA competitions. So we wish, Hank and Aaron, all the gang out there, good luck in that endeavor. We'll continue to promote it here because I'm a nice guy. Listener feedback from the show last week. Pete in Idaho writing in, Greg, love the Daniel Vaughn segments last week. I'm a podcast listener, and I do it while I cut the lawn. I have to say, I'm with you on side dishes. Who cares how good they are? Well, I'll agree with Daniel on that being a tipping point on which one I might want to go to, all things being equal. What am I saying? Well, I agree with Daniel on that being a tipping point on which one I might want to go, to all things being equal otherwise. My assumption is that one place is really going to have the better barbecue, and that's where I am going. I'm here for the barbecue. Love the show. Regards, Pete. Pete, I agree with you. Nick in Oklahoma writing in, Greg, enjoyed the segment with Nick from Oklahoma Joe. I'm in the market, and there were some things that piqued my interest during the segment, having access to the burn pot for more traditional grilling experience seems pretty cool to me. Plus, I don't need all that tech crap that everyone else seems to say that I need, and that's why they're putting it on those cookers. Thank you for continuing to expose us to new brands that are out there. Regards, Nick. Welcome, Nick. And by the way, they are a show sponsor, just to get that out in full disclosure. Jack in Indiana writing in, Greg, this is a preemptive strike going into the second hour. Is there any way We don't have to hear you and Rusty sing live tonight. It's bad enough hearing it produced, but live? How can it be anything but a train wreck? Please don't do it. Please. I love everything about the show except these months of the year when you try to make your listeners go deaf on purpose. Why do you hate us? Regards, Jack. Jack. Come on.
Big step out of here.
Aren't we allowed, Jack, to expand our horizons and our ear holes all at the same time? Do you just want to listen to professional singers sing eloquently and deliciously to the ears? Or do you want to hear some real-ass men sing songs and rap songs and do whatever songs that we're going to do for you in about an hour and 20 minutes that may or may not want to make you claw your ears off? Did I get that out right? So, Jack, tune out. It's almost over. Literally. Okay, so here's the good news. Derek Riches is in the green room. That's good news number one. Good news number two is the Oklahoma Joe's Ryder DLX pellet grill cooker inaugural cook is an unmitigated success. I didn't do everything, but here's what I wanted to test out on. I'm going to venture a guess, and I will test it out coming up on Saturday, this coming, with 6 racks of ribs coming from Kevin down at the butcher shop, in Pensacola. I'm paying for it. I did the high heat stuff. I wanted to really see if having access to the burn pot gave you a real grilling experience. And I have to say, after rounds and rounds of various proteins on sear, cranked all the way up, this thing performed as advertised. It has that honeycomb cast iron grate, which gives you proper sear marks if you're into that without having to do all the quarter turn flips. That's not that big of a deal, but you get all those nice marks right there. It does get rip-roaring hot, and it cooks well. Plus, there's a incredible amount of space between the 2 extra shelves that can go above it. I just used one. So after I got the nice sear on the chickens and the beefs, stuck it up there on the top shelf to finish off. Indirect and away. If I felt exceptionally froggy, I would switch that handle over to the smoke mode. So again, I haven't done the low and slow yet, but I'm assuming it's probably going to show its meat there. I was a little bit more skeptical on the high heat side. And again, an unmitigated success. So very happy for that. If you are in the market, if you would like to check one out for yourself, OklahomaJoes.com is the website. That's OklahomaJoes.com. And by the way, it tells you to dump the hopper every single time that you're done cooking. I'm not that guy. I'm gamble guy. I've had a pellet cooker on my backyard for like 15 years at this point. I've never had any issue with any of the pellets getting wetter. They're in the hopper. We're good. All right, we're back with Derek Riches right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show, presented by the Ryder Deluxe Pellet Grills from Oklahoma Joe's. Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by the Barbecue Guru, creators of automatic pit temperature control devices, sellers of ceramic cookers with built-in power draft fans, accessories to make your barbecue and grilling life easier. Visit bbqguru.com for more information or call them 800-288-GURU. The Barbecue Guru continues to be a breakthrough in barbecue technology. It is the 4th Tuesday of a month, but it is only 14 past, which means you would think that you would be getting some other guest than who's about to slot in for at least the next segment or so. But he is a Barbecue Central Show guest Hall of Famer. You can check him out on his website, DerekRiches.com. We race to the Oklahoma Joe's Ryder DLX Pellet Grills hotline and welcome back friend of the show, Derek Riches. Hey, Derek.
Hey, Greg.
I hope you are doing well. Did you get a haircut?
Yes, morning.
Guess what? Me too. Look at us.
Wow. I didn't see you there.
You didn't? Well, I mean, we were probably in two different locations, but nevertheless, I think it only speaks to our high level of professionalism and our deep-seated need to be revered by all of the live fire public, which is why we maintain these brilliant images for everybody to revel in.
It has nothing to do with our wives telling us to go get a haircut.
My wife says, you need to grow more hair. And I'm like, honey, I can't. It's just not happening anymore. But nevertheless, that's a story for a different day. So plenty of different topics to talk about here, which is why I'm having you on in the lead segment. And then I would imagine there's a pretty good chance it will bleed into Derek's normal segment at 35 past the hour, and we'll see where we go from there. So last month was a big month in the world of barbecue. If you're into this kind of thing, it's called the Barbecue Hall of Fame. I was asking all of my guests leading into the actual announcement of who was going to make up the class. There was a list of 9, as you recall, finalists. And I said, Derek, who do you think of this 9 will make it into the Barbecue Hall of Fame this year? And I have to say, holding one aside, you were 100% correct. So that is fabulous. Now, not to throw any shade in your general directions, the embedded half the embedded correspondents were also 75% correct. And the other half of the embedded correspondents were 100% correct with their picks on who they think should be in the Barbecue Hall of Fame. But enough about us. Let's talk about you. Ed Mitchell, you guessed, not guessed. You said would go in. He's in. You said it. Joe Traeger, you said would go into the Barbecue Hall of Fame. Joe Traeger is in, as we know. Leanne Whippen, you said, and I told you that was our biggest sticking point, I think. At that point, I was the guy that said he was vacillating on Leanne Whippen. Some days I wake up and go, she should absolutely be in there. And other days I wake up and go, I don't know if she should be in there at all. But not Derek. He was steadfast, said Leanne should be in there. Guess what? Leanne Whippen is in there. So far, so good. And then we get to number 4. And you made a great case, as I also heard from Ray Lampe, as I also know of him, which may show our respective ages and what we know has been accomplished in the industry versus other folks, but neither here nor there. You said Byron Chisholm, Bad Byron, should also be in. And unfortunately, that was not correct. Get that big stuff out of here. Of course, we know rounding out that 4 was John Marcus. Why did you not pick John Marcus? What was a hurdle with him to you?
I honestly, I suspected that it was going to be John Marcus.
Oh, little revisionist history.
If the question was if the question was who are they going to pick? I'm going, well, probably John Marcus. Not for me though. I just,
what doesn't he do for you? 2 one-trick pony?
Maybe there's a bit of that to it. And I mean, I'm not a big TV watcher. I didn't really watch much of Pitmasters. What I did see was a bit of reality TV and a lot of commercials. And I was like, I mean, okay. But I get the point that they're trying to say, we want to pick people we think have helped popularize. And to me, that gets to be a fuzzy space. You get some picks in that kind of category, which can be a little flash in the pan or a little undeserving. So, I'm sure John's a perfectly nice guy. I've never met him and whatever.
You didn't listen to the interview I had with him 2 weeks ago?
I listened to some of it, yeah.
Well, I'm telling you,
I mean,
I think when you listen to the full body of that work, it is a pretty magical story, number one. And then just within the barbecue portion of it, here's one thing that I learned. I don't know if a lot of people picked this little nugget up, and I knew this in advance as well, like years ago when we had first talked about it, but John had the background, obviously, in the TV world, so he knew about all of that. But it is incorrect to say this is John Marcus's idea. The idea for barbecue television, believe it or not, is Chris Lilly from Big Bob Gibson, who had occasion to run into John Marcus at a Big Apple block party when that was a thing early on and say, here's an idea. And then all of a sudden, John Marcus is down in Decatur and they're talking about the realistic possibilities of putting on some semblance of a barbecue TV show and what it would look like. And then you had whatever was called the All-Star Barbecue Challenge. And then I think there was another iteration. And then you found that first Barbecue Pitmasters try, which was more, as you said, reality TV based. And then that second year, it morphed into the game show. And to me, went off the rails immediately at that point. But again, through the years of the show, I have often said I am not a fan of Chopped style shows. I don't watch Chopped, the original. I don't watch any other bastardization of Chopped. And I certainly wasn't a huge fan of watching Barbecue Pitmasters when it turned into that. And that got me into a lot of trouble because I would routinely have contestants on the show, a show that I verbally lambasted week after week, to say, what was it like? And we interviewed the contestants. I loved the contestants. I wanted to promote the contestants. I wanted to make sure that they had platform to talk about whatever they wanted. I just wasn't a fan of the show. I know some pretty big names in the industry who thought I was kind of an a-hole for saying, you're talking out of both sides of your face. You say you love this TV show, or you say you hate this TV show, and then every week you're having a contestant on the TV show that you hate. They couldn't find where the separation was for me.
Hey, it's, I mean, talented and great people can be on something that isn't good.
Right.
And that was kind of, my take on it. And, I mean, I don't, I know the story with Chris Lilly and stuff like that, because I've known Chris for a very, very long time. But, I to me, it was kind of like, how involved is, how big is this for Marcus? And the thing of it is when it first popped up and I saw, that producer, I'm like, you mean the guy from the Cosby Show?
Yeah, that guy.
Okay. That guy. And it's like, I'm like, well, for one, it's kind of weird because he was so integral to what was the most popular TV show of the 1980s. And then there was nothing. So I don't know.
Well, that's not true.
It wasn't my pick.
It wasn't not
well,
nothing.
No, I mean,
he did a Different World. He did Late Line. He did a couple other things that really never got off the ground.
Right.
Yeah, but then he found this barbecue television thing. I say this, like the show or not, it had, I think, 11 seasons, and I don't know what a season constitute into years. I don't know if 2 seasons equal a year or 4, whatever, but it had 11 seasons, and I would say if you go back through the archives of this show, when I talked to pitmasters, especially when there was more of a lean towards competition before it just kind of fell out of interest, I would say how you get into it. 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 people would reference, if not the first thing, the second thing, Barbecue Pitmasters. So I say it had inspired a generation of competition pitmasters and people that just saw it and said, hey, those people can do it. I can do that in my backyard. Or it inspired them more to say, I can get out there and go head to head against them, because that was the beauty of competition barbecue. You could literally go up against the best and see where you stacked up.
No, and you're absolutely right. And the thing of it is that the show would air and I would get emails literally the next day saying, how do I do what they did on the show? Or do you have information about this stuff? And so, I mean, it's benefit from that standpoint. But the thing of it is that I'm not going to agree with the Hall of Fame committee on everything. And that's just the way it is. I don't think you will either.
I won't. And you're 75% right, and I'm 75% right, and that's what we know for sure. That's all that counts. Yeah. That's a high C where I come from, and I'm okay with C's. Now, you are quickly, and I didn't realize this the last time you were on, a new author again, end of May. You just decided not to say, hey, can we mention this or can we do this? But end of May, according to Amazon, the ultimate grilling cookbook, everything you need to know to master your gas or charcoal grill comes out.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, right. That's kind of cool. Yeah. I think it technically dropped in June. I'm not.
Well, end of May, it said. So
yeah, something like that.
It might as well be June.
Yeah, it's basically because we had done the complete smoking book. Publishers have, they don't. I don't know. When it comes to naming things, it's like literally the two books were done together back to back as kind of companion pieces, but then not marketed that way. But those things fall out of your control quite quickly.
Do you name them, or do you just give a suggestion and they pick what they want?
Yeah, kind of. They come back with what they think is gonna sell, what's gonna market well. It's just the way it is. It's the way the business runs today. But yeah, so that was kind of how Sabrina and I spent COVID, was putting together a couple of cookbooks.
So are you now, you've had the kebab book, you've had other books, prior to, I guess I know the kebab book and then these subsequent two, the barbecue book, the grilling book. I didn't necessarily know you, aside from what you would write on the internet, as a book author per se, but are you up to 5 books now at this point?
This was the fourth.
The fourth, yeah. So now I would say you're becoming prolific. Yeah,
it seems like that. But book projects kind of come up. It's like there's an opportunity to do it.
Is there?
Go through
how does an opportunity come up?
Somebody contacts us and says, "Hey, are you interested in doing a book?" And we go, "Okay, we can do that."
Just randomly?
Yeah, I've never.
Nobody's ever approached me for doing a book. I've done the show for 16 years. Not even one single person has ever said, you ever thought about writing a book? The answer, of course, is no. I don't read books, so I'm not going to write a book. But all my vast knowledge and experience gains, I'm sure I got a book in me. But nobody's asked.
And you don't need to be a reader of books to write one. I think
that's hypocritical, though.
Well, okay.
I love hypocrisy, so I'll do it.
Yes, hypocrisy works. It sells.
Yeah. So you just get a call and says, "Hey, we have an idea for you to write a book."
Yeah. Basically.
It wasn't boiling on any of yours or Sabrina's back burners or back of mine saying, "Man, if we could only get a call, we got these books ready to go."
No, we have ideas for books that we would like to do. The problem of it is that going at it from that direction is really difficult in this day and age. You've got to sell a publisher on the idea that it's sellable and it's marketable. And that's a lot of work. And I don't know that, I want to put that kind of work into it. And, it's at this stage, our ideas can sometimes be a little bit cryptic. At least my ideas tend to be obscure things that people probably wouldn't pay money for, but so no, it's we like doing books because it's like a structured thing. It's like, you have a specific time frame, and it's very different from online publishing and stuff where, what strikes you in the morning is what you got to do. This is kind of like, okay, you have to go back and you have to say, how do you do this entire breadth of the topic and fill it all out and go back to, let's explain everything one more time from the beginning.
Yeah. Is that,
because
I got into a big fight with saying the cooking guy at the beginning of the month because we were talking about Pittsburgh steaks. That's a topic we may or may not get into. I doubt now we actually will, but he said something to me about, do you know what a Pittsburgh steak is? I was like, yeah, of course. I'm in the live fire industry. I would imagine all of my listeners know. And he's like, you're making a terrible mistake. You should never assume. I'm always repeating myself because you'll always get a new listener or You're always going to get a new podcast subscriber, and maybe they don't know everything. That you shouldn't assume that they know everything that you know. So when you're writing a book, we went back and forth. So when you're writing a book, as you say, is that a nuisance to you to have to go back to boilerplate and then build from there?
No, it's kind of a reset. It's kind of like you spend a lot of time, really talking about, higher end stuff, knowing that you're talking to an audience that's sophisticated, but, you're making assumptions about the people that are reading what you're writing or hearing what you're saying, and having to kind of step back and say, okay, let's go. This person has just bought a grill, or this person's just bought a smoker, and they don't know anything. How do we lay down the foundation for that? And I think that, for me, after 25 years of this, it's kind of helpful to say, there's always new people. There are always going to be new people. And when there stops being new people is when we're in deep trouble. And so it's that, going back to that point of, all right, how do I give this person the best possible experience the first time they do this? And because that's what's going to keep them there. And so, these last two books are I think they've got a sufficient level of sophistication. There's complex enough recipes. I think that people who are experienced will go, hey, I'm interested in that, or I can try that. But also to structure it in such a way as that people who don't know what they're doing can figure it out and get where they need to be.
Is this fun enough for you to continue to do? Like, is the people calling you with ideas for you to write going to be pinging your phone or DMs on the regular now?
I think we'd like to step away from it for a little bit.
Oh, yeah?
Not to say that, if somebody called, if, something pops up, that email comes and says, hey, we'll consider any deal. I don't generally say no, but I don't want to reinvent the wheel that many times.
Yeah. Is it good money?
But, it can be. It's paycheck. It's not bad. It's not what it was.
Not what it was. Right.
Let's be honest. Cookbooks today are more a marketing thing. It's more about your established cookbook writer. You have X number of books out. You can write books on these topics. It's a way of demonstrating to others that you've got that space. But I don't think that the majority of cookbooks that come out are designed as, hey, I'm going to make a couple $1 million on this thing, because you're probably not.
Is it because, stepping away, you had a really great time at the National High School Barbecue Association contest judging? I didn't even know that was a thing.
I honestly didn't know that much about it either. But I got a message on Facebook, like on a Friday night, from Stan Hayes saying that he would be in the relative area.
Wow.
Saying, hey, anyone who wants to stop by, this is what we're doing. So I said, hey, that sounds like, interesting. I looked it up and realized that one of the people who'd be presenting at it was Chris Marks, who's, a friend from ever back.
Three Little Pigs.
And so I said, yeah, I can swing by. And I didn't go there thinking I was going to judge. I didn't sign up to judge. I got there. I walked through where the teams were competing. It looked very much like a barbecue competition, except it was filled with teenagers.
High school kids.
And high school kids.
Wow.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And, I went inside because it was 97 degrees out, and ran into Chris. We got talking for a couple of minutes, and a woman walked up to me, says, I don't know who you are, but I need a judge.
How dare her?
Can you do this? She's a teacher. She's with the school program. So, she's not like barbecue people. She's education people. I don't expect them to know who I am. So I'm like, sure, I can do that. So, went in and judged the ribs category for it.
What kind of meat are they turning out? Pretty good?
Yeah, actually quite impressive. It was a good judging experience. It's one of the best judging experiences I had in a while. The people that were judging were serious about what they were doing, Nobody had a cooler. Nobody had Ziploc bags. Nobody was there for a free meal. They were there to judge. It was not by, KCBS rules or anything like that. There was 8 people at our table judging 13 turn-ins. And they gave us half ribs.
Half ribs.
So we had half ribs.
What is that?
Well, the boxes came in with a bunch of ribs in them. We looked at them for presentation.
Yeah.
And then they cut them in half.
Like hacksaw?
With a PVC. No, with a PVC cutter.
No
One of
kidding.
those, like, ratchet cutters that'll cut through PVC pipes.
Wow.
Worked pretty good. But, it's because they couldn't have, they did a double judging. So the top 5 from our table and the top 5 from another table then went to the final table to then be judged there. So they had to turn in a lot of ribs. And, honestly, if they said you're going to judge 13 full ribs, I'd be like, that's a lot of meat.
Yeah. Right.
But no, it actually worked really well. And some of the teams were being the teams had coaches. These are the high school culinary programs, so, these kids are doing culinary programs in their high school. Part of that is to be on a barbecue team.
Huh.
And some of those, those teams then recruited, Stan Hayes was there as the coach for the team that his son is on.
Yeah.
So, but the turn-ins, several of them were, I would say high score KCBS quality.
Wow.
They would have done well in a big KCBS tournament.
Worth
just
the time.
A small one, but a big one. Oh yeah, no, and it was a lot of fun. It was a really good experience.
All right, well, good.
And it's an interesting program.
Yeah, it's National High School Barbecue Association, so maybe that's something that could be spreading out, not only from Texas, but perhaps across the country. Folks that aren't really interested in sport, maybe they like to cook.
Yeah, I think the 21 teams from Texas, Tootsie from Out It Snows Barbecue was actually coaching one of the teams.
Wow.
And then they had 5 from Missouri. And next year they've got programs launching in New York and Washington.
Wow.
And they're looking to branch out into pretty much anywhere they can.
Yeah.
I think that their goal is to do next year's, championship, either like in maybe Kansas City or something like that.
So this is somebody I might want to track down and get on the show.
Yeah. Eric Mickelson. I can send you some contact information. I'm sure that, I think you ought to, because I think that this is it's a really interesting program. As a matter of fact, some of the teams are sponsored, but a number of the teams were cooking on rigs made by the high school welding shop.
Wow. So all integrated.
So they actually had an award program for custom made rigs that were, made in the high school, welding shop and by kids. And, and that's cool because, you were walking around, there's custom rigs here. It's not just a whole bunch of off the shelf pellet grills running, a barbecue event.
Interesting. All right. We're talking with Derek Riches from DerekRiches.com. Derek, stand by and we'll be right back after we do a small piece of business via Primo Grills. By the way, we're definitely not getting through most of this agenda. I don't even know where it went off track. What do we love about ceramic cookers? I'm going to tell you. We love that they're fuel efficient. Yes, we love that they can achieve low and slow temperatures for traditional barbecue meats. Also, they can get rip-roaring hot for high-temperature grilling of steaks and other thin cuts. But what's missing in the everyday lineup of ceramic cookers? The ability to do true two-zone cooking. Two-zone cooking is important to both professional and backyard cooks alike. It's the best way to manage a fire and cook with confidence. However, getting a two-zone fire in a round ceramic cooker, not very realistic. Why? Because it's round. Enter Primo Grills and the game-changing oval design. The shape gives you the ability to execute the two-zone setup that you desire. It also gives you the other ceramic grill benefits as well. Really, when you break it down, there's more than 60 different ways to cook on this thing, so you're only limited by your culinary imagination. If you're somebody that likes cookers but loves accessories even more for those cookers, Primo is right in line. They have a Primo Grill rotisserie item. They also have a pizza grill accessory. They have half drip pans. They have rib racks. They have the new top and bottom air dampers, the easy lift hinge now. Come on. You want accessories, they got accessories. More to come. Also, a live remote, I think it's August 13th, where I will have Nick Bauer from Primo Grill on at one of their big customer events or vendor events that they're going to be having. Location to be determined. So looking forward to doing that. Here's the bottom line. Best ceramics in the biz? Yes. Patented technology? Yes. True two-zone cooking capabilities? Yes. And look, if you just have to have a round ceramic cooker, they have those as well. I'm going to tell you this. Forget about it. Get the oval. That's what sets it apart. Be different. Visit PrimoGrill.com to find a dealer near you so you can check it out in person. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Everybody is now ready for a Primo cooker. PrimoGrill.com. We're back with more Derek Riches right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show, presented by the Ryder Deluxe Pellet Grills from Oklahoma Joe's. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
This portion being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. Visit cookinpellets.com for more information or to purchase or to see what other cool products they have to add a little smoky goodness to whatever protein it is that you are cooking. Rejoined by Derek Riches from DerekRiches.com. You did a pretty in-depth piece on something that everybody wants to be nowadays with this whole social media thing. You wrote it on becoming a barbecue ambassador. I believe in our outline I said influencer. Look, I don't even know where the hell all these terms came from. I thought I used to know how to define these terms, but then quickly I'm learning, well, influencer is different from ambassador, is different from spokesperson. So let's start at the top. Yeah, right. Pass that over, too, because I need to take the edge off. What exactly are there straight-up definitions for ambassador, spokesperson, and influencer? Those seems to be the biggest term.
There aren't any.
It's up to the person or whatever you want to call yourself.
Well, I refer to it as marketing or AKA bullshit. So I started kind of looking into this because I had some interactions with some people that were like, well, you know, we do these ambassadorship programs where we give you a discount ticket to buy our products to then promote them. And I'm like, that's not worth it. No, I won't. So I called Doug Scheiding. You know Doug, right?
Who?
You may him. Doug Scheiding? You ever heard of him? Okay, you can get him on one day. And we talked for quite a while, and he has this 4-level system. There's influencer, brand ambassador, sponsorship, and then consultant. And yes. And that's what he says he is for some of the people that he works with.
Right.
So basically the way, and because these terms just get thrown out there, you know, it's like being an Instagram influencer was cool. And then being an Instagram influencer was just a scam. So everyone started saying they were brand ambassadors and, you know, I don't do this sort of work. So, but I wanted to kind of try and define some stuff and send a bit of a warning to people who I see on social media pushing products and saying, hey, I'm a brand ambassador for this. They will give me a free t-shirt if I can sell 200 units of their stuff. I'm like, Why are you? And it's frustrating. I mean, I encountered this a long time ago when people would say, "Hey, we will give you recognition if you'll write an article for our publication." And I'm like, I don't care about recognition. I don't eat recognition. It doesn't pay my bills. And I would be rude with them. And I think more people need to be rude with those sort of things. But digging into it, I found it's actually, if you're interested, that if your goal is to say, I've got some Instagram followers, I've got TikTok followers, I've got whatever followers, to a certain number, and it's not a specific number, it's whatever. And you want to somehow leverage that into a way of making money, getting someone to pay you to promote their product. You need to do a couple of things. First of all, you need to be actually real.
Like a
we
human?
Have all seen, human is good. That's a plus. We have seen, you've seen Instagram accounts with 500,000 followers and they do barbecue, right?
Sure.
How many of those followers are real?
Depends on if they're bought or not.
Who knows? Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's just it. But the people that do this sort of marketing professionally, I mean, the marketing firms, the influencer network systems, and the big corporations, they will look at your account and they'll go, no, you're not a real person. This isn't real. So be authentic, have a narrative, have a story. It's not just a matter of, hey, I like to cook briskets on Saturdays. It's why. It's about what are you doing here? What's your journey? What's your story? What are you trying to get across to people? You can be I'm getting into and exploring. That won't take you too terribly far. You can be, whatever it is about you that makes you different from everyone else. That needs to be combined with what you're doing. And this is kind of a truth for whatever, for whatever it is you're marketing. If you're, in makeup or you're in cars or you're in whatever consumer goods space you want to be in, tell a story, be involved or active in things so that it draws attention. It gives that sense of authenticity. And then really only sign up with things that you can actually believe in, actually stomach. If you're doing, if you're pushing a product that you just hate, it's going to come off that way. You're going to have a very short career in this.
Sure.
So, I mean, that was kind of what I was trying to get at. But I was also kind of sending, I secretly was trying to send a message to a lot of these businesses, these people who are, I've got a line of rubs, I've got a line of sauces, I've got a line of this or that. And say, if you're going to have this relationship with people who are promoting your product, it needs to be a two-way relationship. And that's kind of what I try to get to in that. I will see people just go nuts trying to push a product, and then the brand themselves don't care. Well, I don't care what you say about our product. I don't care if you're promoting us. You shouldn't be promoting that product, because if you want to actually be an influencer or whatever we're going to call it, it's a two-way street. You're pushing your brand by helping other people push their brands. And it should be done in a way that your audience isn't nauseated by. That's what that's what I'd really like to see. I mean, I am not a fan of advertising in any structure or form in any way. I have every type of ad blocking technology known to mankind to see as little of it as possible. But it's a thing. It exists. It's how people get the word out.
But certainly you would want to know about something cool. Maybe you wouldn't have known about something if Jack Arnold wouldn't have done something, or if this particular influencer that you followed. I get the ad nauseum in your face stuff, but every once in a while I'm like, oh, I mean, this guy seems, or gal seems to be hawking every which thing. But that actually sounds pretty interesting. So then I'm hitting a website and
No,
maybe I'm buying it or whatever. But
yeah, and it's I mean, to a certain extent, yeah, that's kind of what it is. And right now, I'm sitting there thinking, did Primo really change their event structure? Do I need to go look at that?
they did.
Because I might want to look at that, and then maybe they changed the way they did that, and that would be good.
Well, as you know,
But-
the top dampers were never, I'm going to say graduated. It was like, I think they used to tell you like a pencil width or 2 fingers width. Now
Yes.
it's been numbered and graduated, so you can just say stick it to 1 or 2 or 3, same thing on the bottom. The lift hinge, of course, so, they have made
and I put
stuff. And there you go.
And thanks to you, I put a
right.
note down here to go look
That's
at
right.
that. So, I mean, it has a place, and that's just it. It has a place, but it needs to be a relationship that works for people.
Did you get
And
any
that's what I'm
feedback from
trying to get
folks?
forward.
Like, hey, you're coming at me, or I didn't think about that. Great info.
I had a lot of people. I had a lot of people in marketing. For some reason, there's a lot of people in the barbecue marketing world that work at the companies kind of come back and go, yeah, I really wish I could say this sort of stuff to people.
Yeah.
So there's that. So, I think it's beneficial from that standpoint.
I mentioned this on Pit Life Barbecue. I was a guest on their show a week ago. And the only thing I wanted to get out and push was knowing your value within this industry. And it kind of echoes the similar sentiment that you're talking about. If you're somebody that has a decent following, forget about the free product stuff. Like that's something they have built
nothing.
into a budget, or it's accounted for.
Absolutely.
It's not hurting them in any way. Ask for money. Get the product and get money, because if you are, however big your following is, if you have influence over there, they're going to make sales, and you shouldn't be given some BS commission percentage that amounts to a hill of beans over the course of a year. You should know what your worth is. You should know what your reach is, especially if you have a good following. Like if you have 1 million followers or something like that.
Absolutely.
And, but again, that goes back to a little bit of business acumen. It goes back to people not feeling comfortable asking for money. That's difficult, uncomfortable for people to ask for. Not for me, but it is for a lot of folks, and they don't know how to go about it. And so they just don't learn, or they don't ask somebody to help them, and they just take a grill, or they take a year supply of rub or whatever, and they think it's great. But I say no. I say
No.
we've had too much free shit in this industry,
Right.
and now it's time to start raising the bar and saying, you're going to compensate me for my time and effort, and you're going to give me the stuff as well. And if not, pound salt.
Yeah, and no, you're absolutely right. And people who will do stuff for free product, kind of like, where does that take you? You don't go anywhere with that. You end up with boxes of stuff.
Yeah.
As a person, I mean, I have made a profession out of reviewing grills and smokers and that sort of thing for the last 2 decades. And that means a lot of stuff has shown up. So when I get that email saying, hey, would you like to test out our product? My mind goes to, I have to deal with the logistics of receiving and disposing of something that could weigh hundreds of pounds.
Yeah.
And people go, oh, wow, poor you. But when you don't have room in your house anymore because of the stuff, take the cash.
Mm-hmm.
And the hardest question for people to answer is, how much is your time worth?
Right.
How much would it cost me to pay for 2 hours of your time? People freak out about that question. And I always say, go high. If they say no, fine. If they say yes, you now have an idea of what someone will pay for you.
Right.
So when it comes to this sort of influencer stuff or brand ambassadorship or something like that, you should be paid. If you've got something to sell, it's worth money, not stuff.
Go read the article, by the way, DerekRiches.com. If you haven't, a great read. And our pal Doug, who'll be in next hour, is a reference in that article as well. Last question before I let you go. We're out of time and we have plenty of stuff to get to still, but we won't. A few years ago, I don't know if you recall, there was this product called the Weber Smoke Fire. It hit the ground, not running, and it was the roast of any kind of social media group or party to... it was really a fire all on its own. However, recently I've been seeing something that I hope you may or may not be able to confirm. Is there a new smoke fire out or a version 2 smoke fire out that's just supposed to be vastly better and they just haven't made anywhere near the fanfare?
Okay, so Smokefire came out. It had problems. They sent kits to fix the problems. Version 2 incorporates the kit that fixed the problems. That was a change to the way the pellet hopper works so that the pellets would actually reach the auger and not just sit there. And some of the interior design. Now, there is a new version that became available this year, and that is Smokefire Stealth.
You can't even see it.
It's invisible.
That's right.
It's right. Now, if you paid any attention, last year Napoleon came out with the Napoleon Phantom, which was a matte black finish gas grill. Looked cool as hell and had like all sorts of cool lighting and stuff. Really cool looking product. So Stealth is a matte black finish, no chrome, version of Smokefire with the Weber crafted accessory system built into it, so you can buy more accessories. And it's only $300 more to not get the stainless steel chromed finish and to get an accessory module for you to buy stuff on.
Wow.
And that's where they are right now.
And it was just kind of dumped out, not heavily promoted at all.
No, but
they didn't want the headache.
I have absolutely no idea, but this is an explanation of that soaring stock price.
Well, I mean, they're twice as much as Traeger is right now.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Twice as much as almost nothing is still almost nothing.
Yeah, so I've been told. My basic Kenston High School math tells me that you are 100% correct on that. All right, well...
75% of 100%.
That's right, is 25% correct. DerekRiches.com is the website. You can find his musings there. You can find him here once a month. And I always appreciate the time and the insight. Man, we pulled 2 segments like it was nothing, and we still have plenty to get to for the next time. So luckily it's evergreen content, so don't worry, folks. It's not going to be old by the time we get to it. And we will see you in July.
All right, see you then.
All right, happy 4th. There he is. Derek Riches right there. So if you want to know how to be a ambassador or an influencer or all that, head on over to DerekRiches.com, take the read. Also contact Doug. Evidently he's taking interviews. So for months, I've been talking to you about my guy, David McDowell, over at the Do Wellness program for us barbecue guys. And I told you I contacted him a couple weeks ago. Well, guess what? Week number 1 is here. We had our big call on Saturday. We did a lot of background. We got some initial weights. We got some, what do you like to eat? What do you cheat with? What do you don't cheat with? Are you a drinker? Are you a smoker? All that stuff. Big background. That's great. And then within 48 hours, right as the week was beginning to hit, I got a custom spreadsheet that we share personally between us. Had to take some pictures. Had to send those along for a little evaluation, and then along came back a meal plan. Meal 1, meal 2, meal 3. This is what you can do if you don't have this. This is what you can do. Now, what have I been telling you in these reads? You have access to him literally almost 24/7 through text messages, through emails. So we're going out for dinner tonight. I'm not going to have the chicken that I have normally for after I've started here, right? I sent him a copy of the menu. I sent him a link. I said, here's where I'm going for dinner tonight. What are the best options? And he shot back top 3 or 4 things to do and said, by the way, only ask for half of this, or don't get any of that, or see if you can sub this for that to keep you as healthy as possible. Knocked it right out of the park. No problem. Filled out my spreadsheet, and I'm ready to go tomorrow. And getting the training.
Michigan embedded correspondent John Solberg.
All right. I went long. Hold on. Everybody just calm down. Hold on. Everybody calm down. Okay. I'll get to that here in just a second. Nobody's going anywhere. My fault. So, I'm doing it right now, 2 days in. Do it with me. We can share our successes together if you want. This is going to be great. Now, my palate's a little different. I'm literally that guy that can have the same thing for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So my meal plans were pretty basic because I can deal with that. Maybe you can't. David can accommodate that as well. Sign up right now. davidleans.com/BBQ. That's davidleans.com/BBQ. And sign up right now. Do it along with me. I'm only 2 days in. You can start next week. You'll only be a week behind me. And then we will track progress from here. I told him I'd do it. He can practice on me. We can prove it out right here in front of everybody. davidleans.com. That's davidleans.com. We are back to wrap the first hour. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
I have no idea what happened there in the transitions, but that board got all screwed up. But we're back on track now. This portion of the show being brought to you by Fireboard. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. Connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring or connect via Bluetooth. If you have Alexa or the Google Assistant in your home, you're in luck. Fireboard fully integrated with both. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232. That's Fireboard 2, Fireboard 2 Drive, and Fireboard 2 Pro, and the Fireboard Spark. We should have Ted Conrad on here fairly shortly, so we can do a new segment with him. All right, we are into the second hour right now. We'll do a abridged way out, and then we'll come right back with the second hour. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show, brought to you by the Oklahoma Joe's Rider DLX Pellet Grills Hotline. Stick around, we'll be right back.